My name is Louise. Today, on my 30th birthday, I'm going to make my dream a reality. Louise, congratulations on the launch of your cafe. And that, Eva and Emma, my best friends since junior high, excitedly opened their door. Yes, I finally opened my own cafe, which I had always wanted to do. It was a little before 11 a.m. when the cafe opened. Because it was a pre-opening day, there were no customers. Quietly turned up the floor. As a result, their upbeat voices echoed throughout the small shop. Thank you, both of you. But to celebrate the occasion, they presented me with a large flower arrangement and a tea set. I led them to a table by the window with a nice view, and they immediately ordered the lunch set. It is a really small restaurant, so if there is no one else in the cafe, I'm close enough to them to talk to them while I'm cooking. I knew it. You've always had good taste, and the way you present things in the restaurant is really cool. After Emma said that, Dava also nodded in agreement. They adore the antique style, which serves as the cafe's main theme, but I kept it simple enough that male customers didn't feel awkward. I'm so happy to hear you compliment me. I brought them the daily set of the omelette toast salad and iced coffee. They enjoyed them while complimenting me. We talked to them while I was making flyers to distribute around the neighborhood. Still 2 years ago, I was worried about what would happen. Louis, you were incredible. You really did it all by yourself. Eva spoke to me in a kind voice, and Emma continued. It's true. It must have been really hard for you at that time. Louise, I admire a positive attitude. They said something like that. I appreciate both of you. Life is no fun when you're constantly depressed. You must maintain a positive attitude. I replied cheerfully to both of them. But my heart prickled as I remembered what had happened 2 years before. 2 years ago, I divorced my beloved husband. Oliver, my husband, was a year younger than me. I loved cafes since I was in high school and had worked there part-time. I wanted to open my own cafe someday, so I went to a culinary school. As a result, from high school to vocational school, I worked in the same cafe for 5 years. Oliver was my junior colleague who came to work there, as it was my first time having a junior part-time employee come in, and I simply enjoyed teaching him the job. Louis, you appear to enjoy your work here, don't you? One day, Oliver suddenly said that to me. I love it because it's fun. I also enjoy working with you. I want to spend more time with you. Will you go on a date with me sometime? Oliver looked me in the eyes, and I remember nodding and blushing. We began dating, and after Oliver graduated from college, he proposed and we married. I hoped that one day we would be able to grow our family, build our own house, and turn a corner of our home into a cafe. Our married life began with such dreams in mind. We lived apart when we were dating, and Oliver was a college student, so I assume we spent more time together after we married. However, once we were married and began living together, we gradually began to drift apart. Oliver, who works in an office, leaves at 8 a.m. and returns at 6 p.m. But I was already in charge of the cafe manager at that time. In order to meet the preparation time, I would leave the house at 10 a.m. I would take the last train home because the cafe was open late. Furthermore, because of my shift work, Oliver was usually off on weekends, and I was usually off on weekdays. We rarely had the chance to spend a whole day together. One day, after 3 years of such days, Oliver said to me, "I want to have a baby, but what do you think?" Oliver said something like that. There were a lot of marriages and births going on around us at that time, and Oliver must have had his own thoughts on it. If Terry's, I was thinking about having a baby someday, but it was difficult to find time for just the two of us. And I was thinking that we might have a child someday. But hearing Oliver's words made me happy, and I told him, sure, me too. I tried my best to make time for the two of us. However, even after several years, the storm did not arrive. I assumed it was inevitable because having a child is a matter of chance, but I went to the hospital for a checkup. And there, I learned an unexpected fact. I was born with an abnormality in my uterus, making it difficult to conceive. Even if I did conceive, there was a significant risk to my body during delivery. I told this to Oliver when he came home from work. "Oh, I'm so sorry." I apologized to Oliver in tears. Oliver patted my back. "I see. I guess we don't have a choice. I'm the one who has to apologize to you for being too hard on you." He told me that. Oliver appeared to be comforting me while carefully considering his words so as not to hurt me. But I could see that he was very depressed. After that, our relationship changed drastically from what it had been, because we were both stumbling for words, not saying much to one another, and not making much eye contact. We became somewhat distant. It is hard to talk to people about this kind of thing between a husband and wife, so girls from the cafe used to tell me, "You're always cheerful. We admire you because you and your partner both work together to keep your marriage going." I could only smile and ignore it. It wasn't really like that. I had no idea what to do, but it was one phone call that brought our marriage to an end. I received a call on my cell phone from my mother-in-law. "Louise, I'm sorry to say this over the phone, but could you please break up with Oliver?" When she said that, I was speechless. Oh, so my mother-in-law knows about it. I immediately realized that. "What are you saying?" "Oliver and I will decide what to do." I couldn't possibly say that to her. Just think about it. With that, my mother-in-law hung up the phone. And of course, I'm sure she wants to see her grandchildren. I guess I am disqualified as a wife and a daughter-in-law. The things I was trying not to think about kept running through my head, and I couldn't stop them. I was still at work, but I asked the staff to handle the rest, and I decided to leave right away. I then stuffed as much of my belongings into my bag as I could and left the house. Then I went to Ava's house, who is still single and living alone at that time. I sent Oliver a letter and the divorce papers by mail. In reality, such a one-sided separation may be unwise. Oliver called me many times, but I did not answer. He texted me several times saying he didn't want to divorce me in this manner. But I had a feeling that if I met him, my feelings would change. He won't be able to show his parents the faces of his grandchildren if he stays with me like this. I want Oliver to be happy. I should not be with him. With this in mind, the only option I could think of was to run away. I kept myself hidden behind the scenes at the cafe where I worked. I asked the other staff to refuse Oliver's visits to cafe. Oliver signed the divorce papers more than 3 months after I handed them to him. We were divorced. Up on the report paper, Louise, I appreciate everything you've done for me. That was written. I never did anything to deserve his gratitude. I'm truly sorry for the first time since leaving home. I responded to his message. Oliver immediately sent me another message, asking if he can go to the cafe I mentioned that I want to open once it's completed. I replied, yes, of course. I was about to text that, but I stopped and turned off my phone. I cried and cried until I couldn't cry anymore. The next day, I changed my cell phone number and deleted Oliver's number. I also left the cafe where I had worked for many years and resolved to reinvent myself. There was no going back, no more looking back. I had to go somewhere where I wouldn't be able to look back. I restrained myself from giving in to Oliver's kind words. Even if this made me feel hard and I wanted to see Oliver or ask for his help, I couldn't. I would walk my own path with my own feet. That's what I decided in my head. Since then, I've had the opportunity to study at various restaurants, putting my cooking skills to use. My days off, I researched various restaurants. I couldn't get back into the swing of things after Oliver and I divorced. I gradually began to feel more detached, and I re-immersed myself in my work. These 2 years later, I began to take concrete steps towards independence, and today I am launching my own business. There's still a lot of things I don't understand about running a cafe on my own, and I'm nervous. However, I've always dreamed of owning my own cafe. I'm overjoyed that it has come true, and I am more excited than worried. I'm curious what Oliver would say if he saw this. I can't help thinking about that, despite the fact that I have moved on from the past. But now, I might be able to deal with Oliver without taking advantage of him. If Oliver sees it, "Louise, you did it! Congratulations!" Would he say that with a smile on his face? I thought I'll let him go, but I've been thinking about him lately. I hadn't moved on, and I'm surprised at myself. I hope Oliver is still living happily somewhere. 6 months after opening this store, word spread, and despite the fact that my cafe was small, it has grown to the point where, not always, but at least once a day, the place is packed with customers. I can now afford to hire a part-time employee, and I am so busy that I don't have time to think about myself every day. That's what makes it enjoyable for me, and it's also when I'm proud to have my own cafe. Then, one Friday night, because our cafe does not serve alcohol, there aren't many customers on Friday nights. As a result, the girl who works part-time does not work on Fridays. That cafe is open until 10 p.m., but no one has entered since 5 p.m. Well, I'll consider whether or not to close the cafe for the day. I was writing the daily menu for the next day on the blackboard. I heard a clinking sound and saw someone enter through the door, but I was about to mount the blackboard on the high wall at the time, so I couldn't turn my head that way. Good evening. Sorry, my hands are busy right now. Please take any seat you like. I spoke to the person. I set up the blackboard and looked at the customer who had just entered. He was sitting in the window seat with a great view, with his back to me. He was a slim man in a suit. I intend to open a cafe that would appeal to men, but the majority of customers were women, so I was very happy to see a male customer. When I arrived with a glass of water, the man was looking down unnaturally, and without saying a word, he pointed to the daily menu. It was a limited lunchtime menu, but since there weren't many customers that day, I decided to prepare it for him. Sure thing, sir. It'll be an omelet with rice today. Is that okay for you? When I asked him, he nodded, but he remained silent, looking below. I wondered if he was someone who didn't like to talk much. I decided not to talk to him any longer than was absolutely necessary. I went to the kitchen to cook. He then looked up and started to look around the cafe. Is he interested in the interior? I was also quite particular about interior design, so seeing him interested in it made me happy. Then, about 10 minutes later, when I brought him his omelet, he bowed politely. He is a strange man, but maybe he is a good man. And that thought, I left but returned a few minutes later to check the amount of water in his glass. Let me pour you a glass of water. Would that? I held the glass in my hand, but there was no response. I was curious, so I looked at the customer and noticed that his shoulders were trembling. He'd only taken 2 bites of the omelet and his hands had stopped moving. That night I noticed droplets of water on the table that appeared to be tears when I looked closely. Are you okay? I looked at the customer's face in surprise. There was a very familiar face, but one I had greatly missed. Wait, Oliver. Yes, it was my divorced ex-husband, whom I had not expected at all. Even though I hadn't seen him in years, he was the person I had always been with. Myself for not recognizing him right away. His once long hair had been completely shortened, and he was much thinner than before. His appearance has changed so drastically that it was impossible to recognize him from behind. But when he slowly looked up at me, I knew he was Oliver. I'm sorry, I assumed you didn't want to see me, so I avoided being noticed. But I couldn't stop myself hearing Oliver's unchanged voice, which I hadn't heard in a long time, nearly made me cry as well. No problem. But why are you here, even though it is the same city as where we previously lived? This location is quite far away. I just got a new job and my office is just around the corner. I overheard one of my staff discussing a new cafe. She visited for lunch last week. For some reason, I was curious about it. So I thought I'd come and check it out. I didn't know what to say, so I kept quiet because even though I had initiated the divorce so one-sidedly, Oliver was looking for a cafe because he thought I would realize my dream. I was confused, feeling both happy and sorry. Then Oliver continued. I didn't come here expecting much, but as soon as I walked in, I knew you were there, and then you were really here. I was delighted to see you after such a long time. I ate omelet with rice and felt nostalgic. Oliver used to tell me that out of everything I cooked, his favorite was an omelet with rice. I remember. That gave me confidence in my cooking. It's been a long time. What's I? I miss you. I'm sorry for what I did. So many words came to my name, but I couldn't think of anything to say. I know that it's too sudden. I might say something strange. Sorry. With that, Oliver continued. I've always wanted to apologize to you if I ever get to see you again. I wanted to apologize for hurting you, and when I said I wanted to have children with you, I didn't know how to deal with you. So I turned to my mom for advice. Then you vanished. And when I asked my mom about it, she said she had called you. I'm responsible for hurting your feelings back then. I was only thinking about myself. You had the right to live your life. But I was being selfish. I should have prioritized you, supported you, and protected you. I'm so sorry. My eyes began to well up with tears before I realized it, and I couldn't stop them. I thought that I wanted Oliver to be happy, but the truth was that I just wanted to get out of my unpleasant situation. Well, Oliver was thinking about me so much. Though I'm vexed, Monance. I'm the one who should apologize. I walked away from you without saying anything. I was so selfish that I didn't even try to talk to you. I didn't understand what it meant to be married or live together. I'm the one who hurt you a lot. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't recall ever discussing my true feelings with my husband in this way. I was such a big fool to abandon such a good person. After crying a lot, Oliver finished his omelette with rice with gusto. He also ate the dessert that came with the set and said it was delicious. And on the way home, can I come back again? He asked me. I didn't even think about how to respond. Yes, of course, I told him. Since then, Oliver has been visiting me every Friday night. We've become friends since then, and we can talk about anything. Now we are like best friends. This about relationship has completely changed, and I have no idea how it will evolve in the future. But now when I spend time with Oliver, I feel more at ease than I have in the past.